All right, here we go. Got that master cylinder reservoir all cleaned up. Now we have this new remanufactured, well, it's not new. It's an original Chrysler remanufactured master cylinder. We gotta pop these caps out of here, these blue ones. I'm gonna get those popped out. That's where that master cylinder goes into after I get my screwdriver back that I just threw down in here. That was talented. Okay. So go ahead and get these out. Hopefully this master cylinder is good because it's been sitting around on a shelf for a long time. I'll go ahead and pop these caps out real quick too. These ones will need to be out of the way for the brake lines to thread into, so I might as well just have it all out of the way. Okay. Now I'm going to see if I can pop this on. So it goes on this way, and I know that because there's a notch here and it's got these little tabs. So it wouldn't set down all the way if I went the other way. Let's see if we can put this on without any lubricant. It looks like it's going to go. Okay, so we got that pushed on. I'll just work it around a little bit to make sure it's seated into those rubber grommets all the way. Let's give it a good twist and a pull. And just work it back and forth there to make sure it's all the way in. All right, there we go. Now it's ready to go in the car. Other than, I'm going to see about, there's a little rubber donut thing on the push rod. The push rod did stay on the brake pedal, so there's a new rubber grommet that came with it to hold that rod centered in here, along with the a new dust boot. The old dust boot came off okay, but it feels a little spongy. So this new one, yeah, this new one's a lot more rubber, solid rubber feeling. So this one's probably swelled up. It's probably not even the right diameter. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than it's supposed to. So go ahead and toss this other stuff in the garbage. Let's see about popping this off here. Oh yeah, this is all disintegrated. That didn't want to quite come off without a little bit of help here. All right, I got that old rubber one off. That little bushing, it's all torn. Here's the new one. We'll go ahead and pop that on. Then we'll be able to stick the master on here. Okay. I guess I could have pushed this on first. Oh well. We'll get this dust boot walked over this real quick. Here we go. Okay. That acts as a little bit of a water seal as well for this, where it goes against firewall. And there we go. Now I just got to find the bolts or the nuts that hold that on, because took that off a couple weeks ago. Here they are. The one started. Reach under and get this one. Okay. Here, let's bring you guys over here and down so you can get a little closer into the action here. It's kind of hard. I need different cameras. This is what we got. That's what we're working with. That's what we're gonna make happen with. All right, I think that was a 13 millimeter. Okay. Yep. Actually, I don't really need the extension. I gotta get that's stuck on the hood spring. That's fun. Let's see here. Getting a longer extension here. That way I can get the old ratchet all the way out here. Okay. There we go. So before we get too carried away here, I'm gonna put a little bit of that anti-seize, turn you into the Tin Man lubricant on the threads here, the fittings, because this car, amazingly for being as old as it is, has very little corrosion on stuff. And I don't want to take the chance of it not being that way the next time I got to take any of this apart. So we're going to put a little bit on now to save ourselves a headache. And if somebody else ends up working on this car in the future, they won't have to worry about that stuff breaking off. Not that they will know that I did that, but at least they will be pleasantly surprised. These brake lines aren't lining up quite right. That's kind of weird. Okay, well, hopefully this is the right master cylinder. Wouldn't that be something? Get my light here. It's not wanting to. Not wanting to thread in very nicely, I tell you that. Not much. It's not threading in as nicely as I would like it to, so that's kind of a bummer here. I don't know what's going on. It's like the lines don't want to line up quite right. Well, help me understand what is going on here. grab my other master cylinder that came off of this. Let's see what's going on. So I wouldn't think it would matter that this is a different color, but I am looking at, there's these ribs are a different shape on there, and this, yeah, well, that's unfortunate. I'm not 100% sure, but that might be the wrong master cylinder. I'm gonna grab my other, the one that came off of my 79 van. Well, the one off of the 79 van is obviously different, so this one looks to be of the right size, but it's not appearing to be the right thread, which is kind of weird. I guess we'll gently turn these with a wrench and see what we got, because I don't want to cross thread anything. Well, seems like it's going in fine. They just weren't wanting to thread in with my fingers very nicely, and it had me worried there. But I'm not having to force this, so it is dragging a little bit. But they might have sprayed some sort of paint. It kind of looks like they clear coated this when they remanufactured it. So maybe that's what's going on, is there's a little bit of paint in there. Yeah, they're turning in fine. This one's dragging a little harder than the other one, but I'm not having to force it by any means. So, odd. Just want to be careful, because I don't want to have to rebuild these little twisty, curly lines down here. That would just set us back even more time and more money. Not that I don't want to put money into this car. I think it's well worth it, but it's just nice to not have to spend a bunch more money on something silly because of something being different when it was supposed to be the same. Okay. Now that we got that all put together, I'll go ahead and pop open this bottle of brake fluid, and we're going to fill this up, and we'll let her do her thing. We'll work on the fuel lines. I somehow got to get brake fluid in the back of this. Oh, making a mess. Here we go. Jeez Louise. Alright, we'll throw this back here. Try to wipe some of that up before it just goes everywhere. So now we just got to hope that we don't have any leaks down here. We shouldn't, but you know, we don't want to not pay attention to it until we know for sure it's not going to do it. Looks good so far. I don't want to get any of that brake fluid on any of the paint any more than I have to, because brake fluid likes to eat paint, so we don't want that. Okay, let's look at this flashlight. Looks pretty good. Look at the caps. I'm going to set these on. I don't want to tighten them down yet because I want this to be able to get air through there easier while it sits, and that way it can kind of start to pre-bleed, get the fluid down in them pipes down there to them brake juice hoses, so that brake juice can do what it needs to do, and that way we'll have brakes. So I will bleed the system later, but for now we're just going to roll with letting that sit. Now the next thing I want to do is put this fuel pump in. I'm trying to figure out where to put the camera. I think right there will work. I probably could bring you guys down a little bit here. Try to get it close so you can see what I'm doing better without having to zoom in. I guess I can zoom in, huh? We'll just see about that. We'll go. There we go. Look at that. Now you can see where I'm going to be working directly. So I'm going to be right down in here. Put the new fuel pump on. And there's some metal lines that come up and over and connect to those ones right there. That's what we're going to throw on here real quick. Got me some Mega Gray, Ultra Black, whatever flavor you like will do the job. For some silly reason, this did not come with a new gasket paper. It came with this plastic spacer thing. So we're just going to glue this to the block and to the pump and call it good. It'll do what it needs to do. Now let me see here. Is this clean? I need to get a scraper and we'll clean that off real quick before we do that, so we'll get a good chance of sealing. I'll go ahead and put this on, and we'll just ever so slightly snug it, and then we'll leave it a little bit loose, and I'll tighten it up next time to allow the gasket maker to make its own, kind of dry and make its own gasket. That's why they call it gasket maker. Because if you just throw it on there and you crank her down tight until she snaps off in there, it's going to squeeze it all out, and there ain't going to be nothing there to make a gasket seal, or to seal it up. There'll be nothing in between that engine block and that little plastic piece and the fuel pump. So it won't want to seal very good. It won't have any thickness to it. Squirt a little bit of that old O'Reilly's brake cleaner on there, and we'll get on down in here with this rag and give her a little wipe, a little scrub and a scrubby wipe. Make sure it's nice and clean. That way, we know we have the best chance of getting this stuff to seal. So we'll go ahead and get this on here. I'll put it on kind of thick since I don't have a gasket, so I don't want to end up with an oil leak. Not the easiest thing to put on. This little pump lever's in the way there. So we got ourselves a nice thick coating. If I can put this in the right spot, I'll go ahead and plop this guy on there. Okay. We'll go ahead and put some more on this. I'll use my finger to smear it around here so it's got a nice even coating. Okay, so there it is. It's all gooped up, ready to go. Set that down here. Go ahead and clean up this stuff real quick. That way it's all out of the way. I'll find the bolts that go on that and we'll finger tighten that on. And guess I should have looked at that. Make sure that these pumps are the same. That is a spacer. I don't know. That's the white one's what came with it. This one's got one on it that was on the car originally. This is the same. Well, it's a Carter pump. This one doesn't say it. Came in a Carter box. It says made in USA. This one says Carter High Flow made in Canada. So that's interesting. Let's see the kind of different part number on there, but okay, so the pump levers, I got these flanges lined up. I don't know if you can see that. Can't really see it on the camera, but looking at it, eyeballing it here, these pump levers are slightly different length. This one's longer, the one that came off of it. So that's probably why this has a thinner shim. So this lines up in the right spot to catch on that camshaft to actuate it properly. So before I throw that old fuel pump away, we'll probably pull that shim off there and keep it, just in case. And go ahead and got my bolts in there. We'll go ahead and stick this down in here carefully and see if we can get it lined up. Get the bolts in there. Of course, the bolts don't want to go in because this fuel pump acts like it's not the right one. Oh. Alright, bolt holes, a lever. Huh? Should be. Maybe I can roll the crankshaft over here for a little just a little rotation and change this so it's not so hard to push down on that. You know, it never can go simple. Shouldn't just be like, oh, 2 bolts, throw a fuel pump on, no big deal. Yeah, that's what you get for thinking. Okay, crank the engine around where that camshaft's down in a position where it won't be pushing on this pump really. So that should help get this in there. Just trying to clean up my mess. Let's see now if we can get this in and started. Oh yeah, that's like butter. There we go. So that's something to remember. If you're having trouble getting something to line up like that, it helps to roll that engine around a little bit. Get that cam lobe to go down on that fuel pump so it's not pushing up on your pump shaft, making it difficult to go in. So like I said, we're gonna run these down kind of like finger tight and let this thing sit. We'll go just a hair more than finger tight. We want this to be touching enough to get that gasket maker to be making contact across the surfaces there, but we don't want to squish it all out. That way later I can snug this up like tomorrow or the next day, whenever I come work on this again. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, whatever. Won't matter to you guys. You're going to be watching this whenever you watch it. But that way that gasket maker's in there. So just enough that it starts to squish. We don't want it to all squish out of there. So I have to remember to tighten that back down. So what I'll do so I don't forget is I'm going to stick this down in here. I'm going to stick it on the bolt and leave it. That way I look down there and I'll see it and I'll be like, what's that for? And I'll be like, oh yeah, I need to tighten those bolts up. Well, now that this is there, it's snugged down good enough that it's not going anywhere. We can install the fuel lines, which now I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to wait on putting these fuel lines in until I get the carburetor back on, because there's these vacuum lines and stuff. I want to make sure all this stuff's routed through here nicely. You know, there's tape that's come apart on some of this stuff. So I'll probably go through and re-zip tie or tape or something to kind of tie everything back up where it lives naturally and then go from there. But I do need to get, you know, sparkulators put back in there. And got the old distributor. I gotta clean that up, get that back on. So I think the next thing I'll do is I'll probably gravity bleed the brakes, and I'm probably not going to show you that because that, you know, that just takes forever. And gravity bleeding, you know, it's whoop, sorry there, shaking the camera like crazy. I'll zoom it back out. Anyways, gravity bleeding is where you take and you open the bleeder screws, which are those little bolts on the back side of the wheel cylinders or on the caliper here. Let's see right here. I don't know if you can see that, but this bolt there, you open it. Yeah, of course you gotta take the cap off. Fluid will dribble out of there. So I'll probably crack those open and let that start to bleed through, and then I'll have somebody help me pump, push the brake pedal and bleed it out that way. I do have a hand pump bleeder, vacuum bleeder thing I could use, but it's kind of a pain in the butt and makes a mess. So I'd rather just have somebody get in there and pump the pedal. So I'll probably do a couple little things here off camera, just because you're not going to be able to see it anyways. So I got to change some vacuum caps down in here, like this one there. I've pointed that out before. I want to get that changed. I need to put one on the back there where if this had power brakes, there'd be a hose. But yeah, I'll probably change that. Probably throw spark plugs in it off camera. But I'll bring you guys back in here later and give you a little update. Do some video of doing some work. Probably we'll be rebuilding the carburetor next. I'll do that on video and get that done so I can get that back on the car and get all these hoses hooked back up. So that'll do it for today, and I'll see you guys later.